This video demonstrates how to solder surface mount parts using a solder iron. Required tools include rosin paste flux, a solder iron, and a cotton swab. The circuit board must have a solder reflow finish. The idea is to mount the part using only the solder that exists on the circuit board by remelting the solder reflow. You should use a small tipped soldering iron. Mine has a 1/32 inch chisel tip. Clean the tip and remove any excess solder. Dipping the tip in paste flux and wiping on a wet sponge works well for this task. Apply a thin coat of paste flux to your circuit board. Spread it evenly across the pads for your part. You can use your finger for this. Position your part over the pads. Align it carefully. Next, you will solder 2 pins on your aligned part. They should be on diagonal corners. Heat the solder on the pad and move the iron up to touch pin 1. The heat of the iron combined with the paste flux should cause the solder to flow onto the pad. Repeat this step on the opposite diagonal pin. Carefully check the alignment of all pins on your part. To correct the position, you may need to reheat one of the tacked pins. Now that the alignment is correct, you can solder each pin on the part. The tip of the iron should touch both the pin of the part and the exposed section of the pad on your circuit board. As you move the iron along the pads, you'll note that the solder will wick up onto the top of the pad. Avoid the temptation to add additional solder to the process. It will normally just create a solder bridge between adjacent pins. Moving the iron at a moderately slow speed will ensure proper heating of the pin and a good adhesion of the solder. As you can see, this process is relatively efficient. This 80-pin part took less than a minute to solder. After soldering all of the pins, carefully check that each pin has been soldered and has not created a solder bridge with any adjacent pins. Soldering surface mount parts with a solder iron is not a difficult process. You'll find it is an effective and easy way to use surface mount parts in your own designs.